The scent of old money and roses hung heavy in the air of the Levin family estate, a fragrance Mark found suffocating. His mother, a portrait of aristocratic disapproval in Chanel, placed a porcelain teacup on the polished mahogany table with a sharp click. Miss Smith is a wonderful girl, Mark. Her family is appropriate. Mark stared out the bay window at the manicured gardens, a world away from the cramped apartment he shared with Luna. I've already told you, Mother. The only woman I will ever marry is Luna Judges. His mother's sigh was a familiar, weaponized sound. That woman, your CEO, she's kept you as her personal secretary for 8 years. How can you not see the humiliation in that? The humiliation wasn't in the title. It was in the secrecy. Back in the sleek, minimalist high-rise of Judges Enterprises, the gossip was less refined but just as pointed. A junior executive, smirking over her latte, had cornered a new intern near his desk just that morning. 8 years fetching her coffee. Trust me, there's more to that story. Luna Judges doesn't keep anyone around that long unless they're useful. The woman's a player. Mark's hand had tightened on a stack of financial reports, the paper crinkling in his grip. He'd stepped forward, his voice low and cold. Miss Jude's professionalism is beyond reproach. I'd remember that if you value your position here. The executive had paled and scurried away. But the words lingered like a bad taste. He was a secret, a convenience. Later that week, the leaf felt more acute than ever. They were in a lavish hotel suite, the kind Luna booked for business. She emerged from the bathroom, toweling her hair, the scent of expensive shampoo filling the air. She surveyed the opulent room, with its king-sized bed and panoramic city views, and a careless smile touched her lips. The wedding room is ready, she announced. The words a casual joke between them, a reference to the single hotel room they would share for the night. For him, the phrase was a painful twist of a knife. He wanted a real wedding room, a real life. She just wanted a place to unwind before heading back to her own empty penthouse. Without another glance at him, she tossed the towel aside and disappeared into the walk-in closet. The next day, he found his courage. He waited until the last employee had left, the office silent save for the hum of the servers. Luna was at her desk, bathed in the blue light of her monitor, a goddess surveying her kingdom. Luna, he began, his voice tight with the weight of unspoken years. It's been 8 years. 8 years of hotel rooms and whispered conversations. When can we tell people? When can I stop being just your secretary? She didn't look up from her screen. Mark, be realistic. You're a secretary. I'm the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. What do you think people would say? I don't care what they say. Finally, she looked at him, her expression a mask of detached pity. But I do. They'll say I'm toying with a broke, ambitious subordinate. They'll say you're a gold digger. They'll mock you, Mark. Can't you see I'm doing this to protect you? Her words were a gilded cage, constructed to keep him in his place. And he hated himself for letting her lock him inside it for so long. The cage door blew open a few days later. He was approaching her office with a revised contract when he heard her voice, light and excited, on the phone. He stopped, hidden by the partition wall. It's perfect. Heidi, the diamond is exactly what he'd love. Yes, tonight at the Starlight Gala. I'm going to propose to Sean. Sean. The name struck him like a physical blow. Sean, her high school sweetheart. The one who'd left for overseas a decade ago. The one whose old photos Mark had found tucked away in a drawer. The one he looked unnervingly similar to. The realization dawned. Cold and sickening. He wasn't the one she was protecting. He was the stand-in, the placeholder. He backed away silently, the contract slipping from his numb fingers. Tonight, he decided, this charade would end. That evening, in their shared apartment, the one he paid for with the modest salary she gave him, a pittance from his family's trust, he made one last, desperate attempt at normalcy. He cooked her favorite meal, a complex seafood risotto that took hours. She swept in, dressed to the gala, and wrinkled her nose. I don't have time for this, Mark. I'm eating at the event. He moved to block her path, holding the plate. Luna, please. Just one bite. In her haste to get past him, she knocked the plate from his hand. It shattered on the floor, risotto splattering across his shoes. Honestly, Mark, just clean it up, she said, her voice sharp with impatience. As she reached the door, she paused. And don't sleep in the master bedroom tonight. I'm saving that for my future husband. He didn't follow her. He didn't clean up the mess. He just stood there amidst the wreckage of his final offering. From a shadowed alcove at the gala, he watched it all unfold. Luna, a vision in crimson silk, commanded the room's attention. She took the stage, her voice ringing with a conviction she never used with him. Then, Sean appeared, walking through the parted crowd. As he stepped into the spotlight, a wave of murmurs rippled through the onlookers. Is that Sean? Someone whispered nearby. Wow, he looks exactly like her secretary, Mark. The sting of it was visceral. He was a ghost, a carbon copy of the real thing. Luna knelt, holding up a platinum ring. Sean, you were my first love. I want you to be my last. Marry me. The crowd erupted in applause as Sean smiled, pulling her to her feet and kissing her deeply. Yes, he said into the microphone. Of course, yes. Hidden in the shadows, Mark felt the last thread of his 8-year delusion snap. It wasn't just heartbreak. It was a profound, hollow sense of betrayal. He had been a substitute, a rehearsal for a man she never forgot. He turned, melting back into the darkness, his face a grim mask. He pulled out his phone, his thumb hovering over a single contact. He pressed the call button. Mother, he said, his voice devoid of all warmth. About Miss Smith, I'll marry her. The one you chose. Make the arrangements. He could hear the triumphant delight in his mother's voice. Oh, darling, the wedding will be the event of the century. We'll show everyone what the Levin family heir is truly worth. Across town, Luna celebrated with her friend Heidi, champagne bubbling in her glass. I can't believe he said yes, she squealed. Heidi swirled her drink, a thoughtful frown on her face. What about Mark? What are you going to tell him? Luna laughed, a dismissive, ugly sound. Mark, please. He's so broke he can't live without me. He's not going anywhere. She took a triumphant sip of her champagne, her eyes glittering with smug certainty. Why choose? I'll have Sean as my husband, and him on the side. It's the perfect arrangement. The key turned in the lock with a familiar, weary click. For 8 years, this sand had meant coming home. Tonight, it was the prelude to an execution. Mark Levin paused in the entryway of Luna Jude's penthouse, his hand still on the doorknob, frozen by the sound of her voice drifting from the living room. It was light, melodic, and laced with a cruelty he had always chosen to ignore. He's just a lapdog, Zach, she was saying, the words sharp as glass shards. Obedient, always there. But you don't marry a pet. You keep it until the real thing comes along. A cold dread crawled in Mark's stomach. He had spent nearly a decade of his life devoted to this woman, swallowing his pride, hiding his true identity, all for the hope that one day she would see him. He pushed the door open, the carefully constructed fantasy of their life together already crumbling. Luna was lounging on the white leather sofa, a glass of wine in her hand. But she wasn't alone. Seated beside her, his arm draped possessively around her shoulders, was a man whose face Mark knew only from old photographs, Sean. He had the same dark hair, the same sharp jawline as Mark, but his was an image of effortless privilege. His suit was bespoke, his watch a sliver of platinum and sapphire. Sean's eyes, A cool, appraising grey landed on Mark. A slow, triumphant smile spread across his face. He stood, extending a hand as if greeting a servant. You must be Mark. Luna's told me so much about you. He clapped Mark on the shoulder, a gesture of feigned camaraderie that was really an assertion of dominance. The crystal ballroom shimmered, a galaxy of chandeliers dripping light onto a sea of tuxedos and silk gowns. The air, thick with the scent of lilac and expensive perfume, hummed with the discreet chatter of Gindale's elite. Mark Levin stood at the heart of it, a place he had never been allowed to enter. For 8 years, he had waited in the car or stood by service entrances while Luna judges networked inside venues just like this. He had been her shadow, her secret, her shame. Tonight, he was no one's shadow, in a bespoke Tom Ford suit that fit him like a second skin. He felt a calm he hadn't known was possible. On his arm was Heidi Smith, her smile as radiant as the diamond necklace gracing her collarbone. She belonged here, but more than that, she made him feel like he belonged beside her. Nervous, Heidi's voice was a soft melody against the orchestral buzz of the room. Mark looked down at her, his gaze lingering on the genuine concern in her eyes. I was just thinking, he said, his voice low and steady. Luna never brought me to one of these. It wasn't an accusation, just a statement of fact, a quiet acknowledgement of a long-endured wound. Heidi's hand tightened on his arm, an unspoken promise of solidarity. We leave for Gindale tomorrow, he assured her. A vow to them both. We're not looking back. Heidi's smile deepened. Good. Because my father can't wait to have his future son-in-law on the company board. Just then, the grand doors swung open again, and a hush fell over the room. Luna Judges made her entrance, a vision in crimson, with Sean Holt clinging to her arm like a prized trophy. She scanned the room with the practiced ease of a queen surveying her court, her eyes landing on the most influential guests. Then, her gaze swept past Mark, did a violent double take, and froze. The carefully constructed mask of the untouchable CEO shattered. Her eyes widened, first in confusion, then in raw disbelief. Mark, her secretary, her possession, was here, and he was with Heidi Smith, the sole heiress to the Gindale Smith Consortium, a family whose wealth dwarfed her own. My shoe, Luna hissed to Sean, feigning a stumble. The heel is broken. Wait for me. Without another word, she peeled away from him, her movements sharp and predatory as she stalked toward Mark. She cornered him near an ice sculpture of a swan. Mark Levin, what in the world are you doing here? Her voice was a low, furious whisper. And who is this woman? Mark didn't flinch. He met her gaze with an unnerving calm. I believe the more pertinent question, Ms. Judges, is what you are doing here with him. He gestured coolly toward Sean. But since it no longer concerns me, consider this my official resignation. Luna's jaw went slack. Resignation? You can't quit. We have a contract, we had an arrangement. He corrected her, his tone glacial. One you publicly terminated. Allow me to introduce my fiancée, Heidi Smith. The word fiancée struck Luna like a physical blow. It echoed in the sudden quiet of the guests nearby, who were now openly staring. Luna's parents, drawn by the commotion, hurried over. Fiancée, Luna shrieked, her voice cracking. Her composure finally snapped. She lunged not at Mark, at Heidi, her hand raised to strike. You stay away from him. Mark moved faster than she could have imagined. He caught her wrist in a grip of steel, his body instantly shielding Heidi. The force of his intervention sent a collective gasp through the onlookers. Don't you dare touch her, he growled, a cold fury in his voice silencing the entire section of the ballroom. He pulled Heidi closer, his arm protectively around her waist. This is Heidi Smith, the woman I intend to marry. Luna's father, Daniel Judges, stepped forward, his face a mask of contempt. Mark, what is the meaning of this? Why would a woman like Miss Smithy even look at a penniless secretary like you? Heidi answered before Mark could, her voice ringing with clear, cold authority. Judges, with all due respect, you clearly have no idea who the man who worked for your daughter for 8 years truly is. Luna tore her wrist from Mark's grasp, her face contorted with rage and desperation. This is a joke, Mark. Tell them it's a joke. You love me. You can't marry her. Mark looked at her, and for the first time, she saw nothing in his eyes, no pain, no love, no lingering attachment, just a vast, empty distance. Why would I not marry her? He asked, his voice lethally soft. She's prettier, smarter, and richer than you. Each word was a perfectly aimed dagger. Luna flinched, her arrogance finally crumbling into sheer panic. Money. Is that what this is about? She fumbled in her clutch, her hands shaking. I'll double your salary. Triple it. Just come back. A dry, humorless laugh escaped Mark's lips. At that moment, a man in a pinstripe suit approached him deferentially. Mr. Levin, about the Gindale port acquisition, the offer is 300 million. Mark waved a dismissive hand without even looking at him. Small change. Reject it. He turned his full attention back to a shell-shocked Luna. I'm getting married. Luna. I'm not interested in your money. Utterly defeated, Luna grasped at her last straw. Sean. She pointed a trembling finger at him. You owe him an apology. You humiliated him. Apologize to Sean. Now Mark's gaze slid past her to Sean, and then back to her face, his expression one of profound indifference. She's nothing to me now, he said, his words directed at Heidi, but loud enough for everyone to hear. He had erased Luna from his life as easily as deleting a file. With Heidi's supportive hand on his back, he straightened to his full height. No longer the stooped, subservient secretary. He pulled out his phone, his thumb hovering over a contact. He looked directly at Sean Holt, whose smug smirk had dissolved into fear. Sean Holt's company, Mark stated, his voice carrying the weight of an executioner's sentence. I want it gone from Gindale. You have 3 days. A wave of shocked murmurs rippled through the crowd. This wasn't a threat. It was an order. Luna stared, her world tilting on its axis, as the man she had thrown away revealed himself to be a king. The silence in Luna's penthouse was a foreign, suffocating thing. For 8 years, it had always been filled by Mark, the quiet hum of him making coffee, the soft rustle of documents he was organizing, the gentle, predictable rhythm of his presence. Now, there was only a vast, echoing emptiness. She sat on her velvet sofa, phone clutched in her hand, staring at the blank screen. He should have called by now. Begged, apologized for his absurd outburst. Sean, lounging opposite her, swallowed a glass of brandy. Give it time, my love, he said, his voice a smug, silken purr. He'll come crawling back. Men like him always do. They don't know how to live without a purpose. And you were his. Luna nodded, but a knot of anxiety tightened in her stomach. It had been a full day, a day of absolute silence. She scrolled to Mark's contact, her thumb hovering over the call button. With a surge of defiant pride, she pressed it. It rang once, then went straight to a cold, automated message. She tried again. Same result. A chilling realization washed over her. He hadn't just ignored her. He had blocked her. The phone nearly slipped from her numb fingers. The idea was so alien, so utterly contrary to the Mark she knew, that it felt like a glitch in reality. The next day, seeking to quell the rising panic, she went to Sean's office. He was meant to be the prize, the culmination of her dreams. Yet his presence offered no comfort. She found him pacing, his face pale and slick with sweat. The smug confidence from yesterday had evaporated. Is something wrong? Luna asked, her voice tight. Just a small bump, A temporary cash flow issue, he deflected, not meeting her eyes. Nothing to worrying your beautiful head about. Before she could press him, the office door burst open. 4 large, imposing men in cheat suits filled the doorway, their expressions like granite. The leader, a man with a scarred cheek and dead eyes, fixed his gaze on Sean. Sean, he grunted, his voice a low growl. Time's up. The 5 million. Now, Luna froze, her mind struggling to process the number. 5 million. Sean's face turned ashen. He stammered, I just need a little more time. My fiancé and I are getting married next week. After that. The man laughed. A harsh, grating sound. We know all about your fiancé. That's the whole plan, isn't it? Marry the judge's court heiress. Pay us back with her money. We don't have time for your wedding plans. Pay up, or we start breaking things. Starting with your legs. The world tilted on its axis. Luna stared at Sean, at his terrified, pleading eyes, and the entire 8-year fantasy of her first love dissolved into a sordid, pathetic lie. He wasn't pining for her. He was targeting her. He wasn't her romantic destiny. He was a con artist. My money, she said, her voice dangerously quiet. The men turned to look at her. Their predatory interest peaked. Sean tried to grab her arm, whispering frantically, Luna, please, just help me this once. She shook him off, her spine turning to steel. The wedding is off, she declared, her voice ringing with cold finality. She looked the loan shark dead in the eye. And you won't be getting a single cent from me. I'm not a fool, with that. She turned and walked out, leaving Sean to his fate. Dazed, she wandered the streets until her friend Zach found her sitting on a bench, staring into space. He sat beside her, silent for a moment before pointing to a massive news screen on a building across the street. The flashing headline made her heart stop. Cinderella Group heir Mark Levin to wed socialite Heidi Vance in private ceremony today. Below the headline was a picture of Mark, not her Mark, the humble secretary in ill-fitting suits, but a man who radiated quiet power and confidence, dressed in a perfectly tailored tuxedo. Beside him, a beautiful, smiling woman. Heidi looked at him with genuine adoration. Cinderella Group's only son, Luna whispered, the words catching in her throat. The wealthiest, most powerful conglomerate in the country. A family so reclusive their heir was a complete mystery. Until now. Zach's voice was gentle but probing. Luna, all those times Judge's Corp was on the verge of bankruptcy. Those anonymous investments that saved us at the last minute. Was that him? The question struck her with the force of a physical blow. The pieces clicked into place with horrifying clarity. Mark's quiet competence, his inexplicable loyalty, the way he always found a solution when everything seemed lost. It wasn't devotion, it was power. He hadn't been clinging to her. He had been holding her up. And she had been too blind, too arrogant to see it. A desperate, primal scream built in her chest. She had to stop it. She had to fix it. She ran, hailing a taxi with a wild look in her eyes, giving the driver the address of the wedding venue shown on the screen. She arrived just as guests were milling outside a magnificent flower-decked chapel. She saw him near the entrance, standing with Heidi. He looked happier, lighter than she had ever seen him. She pushed through the crowd, her voice raw. Mark. He turned. The warmth in his eyes vanished the moment he saw her, replaced by a cold, weary indifference. Heidi placed a gentle hand on his arm. Don't marry her, Luna begged, her voice breaking. Please, Mark. It was all a mistake. We can go back. We can fix this. He looked at her, his expression unreadable. Fix what? Luna, our relationship. A bitter, humorless smile touched his lips. Was I the one who destroyed it? The question hung in the air, an indictment of every cruel word, every casual dismissal, every moment she had taken him for granted. Tears streamed down her face. "It's you I love, Mark. It was always you. I didn't see it. I thought Sean. He looked like the boy I had a crush on in high school, and I was young and stupid. I mistook a memory for love, but you were the one who was always there. I love you." From her purse, she pulled out a small, intricately carved wooden box, the music box he had given her on their first anniversary, the one she had smashed in a fit of rage. It was painstakingly glued back together, the cracks still visible like scars. "I fixed it," she whispered, holding it out like a peace offering. "See? We can fix us too." He glanced at the box, then back at her, his eyes devoid of any emotion she recognized. "Your love is worthless, Luna. I don't want it." His voice was flat, final. He stepped closer, his gaze hardening. "And do not ever insult the woman standing next to me. She is worth more than you could ever comprehend." He turned to face the waiting guests and the press who had gathered. He took Heidi's hand, lifting it to his lips. "I want to make one thing perfectly clear," he announced, his voice carrying with effortless authority. "This is Heidi Vance, the woman I love and my future wife." Every word was a nail in the coffin of Luna's hope. She stood frozen, the repaired music box feeling like a block of ice in her hand. This was it, the final, irreversible end. As he began to lead Heidi inside, he paused and looked back at Luna one last time. There was no anger left in his eyes, only a profound, hollow sadness, the regret of a man looking back on a wasted chapter of his life. "Do you know my only regret, Luna?" he asked, his voice low but cutting through the air. "It's not that you never loved me. It's that I wasted 8 years of my youth staying by your side, waiting for a woman who was never there." He turned and walked into the chapel with Heidi, the heavy oak doors closing behind them with a soft, definitive thud. The sound echoed in the sudden silence, sealing Luna's fate. She was left alone on the steps, clutching the broken pieces of a past she had shattered herself, finally understanding the true cost of everything she had thrown away.